Well, hello everyone. Just want to start off by saying I know that it's been a while since I've put something up, and sorry about that, but things have been, for the last month, let's just say they've been a little crazy for me in my life, and, yeah, I haven't, part of it is I haven't been able to put up content, and then when I may have a little bit of time to maybe put something together, I've been feeling really unmotivated. I've had a lot of shit going on, a lot of shit kind of fucking with me. Not anything I really want to get into detail yet, but it looks like I'm going to have at least a little bit of time to make some content. So before I really delve deep into that, I wanted to do something a little fun, a little lighthearted, not so really all that serious, just something I could have a little bit of fun with, and hopefully you will enjoy, and something I might do as a regular thing on this channel. A little something I like to call the Adventures of Florida Man. I know it sounds like a really bad Marvel Comics character, but I live in Florida. A lot of crazy shit happens down here, and I figured I might as well talk about it. So if you like what I'm doing here, please let me know in the comments. If you don't like it, well, tell me about that in the comments too. And if enough people like it, I guess I'll keep doing it. I mean, I will still do the same stuff that I've been doing all along, the social and political shit, but right now I don't really feel like doing that right now. It's been emotional lately, and it's just not something I want to talk about. It just isn't. I've had some shit going on, and I just want to talk about different things. So, let's get started. So, Tampa Man, and I used to live in Tampa, by the way. Tampa Man loses his testicles after trying to fill a scuba tank with weed smoke. 30-year-old Tampa local has suffered extensive injuries to his lower body after an unconventional attempt to fill a scuba tank with weed smoke failed spectacularly last night, according to the testimony of several witnesses. Darren Winters, hopefully no relation to Christie, had consumed a copious quantity of alcohol before making the decision to demonstrate his homemade device. Darren's a recreational diver, commented one of the injured man's friends. For some time he had been tinkering with an old scuba tank that he'd bought cheaply from a dive shop. His plan was to use an air compressor to feed smoke into the tank and then use a scuba regulator to inhale it. Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? Right? Mr. Winters invited a number of friends over to his residence and apartment in Ybor, telling them he'd finally perfected what he was calling his scuba bong. Clearly it wasn't a bong at all, pointed out one of his friends when interviewed by local journalists. But he was so enamored at the name, we thought best not to correct him. When his friends assembled at Mr. Winters' residence, they found him heavily intoxicated. He had a number of celebratory drinks before we arrived, as he was so delighted to finally have his scuba bong up and running. With his friends present, Mr. Winters proceeded to offer a demonstration of the homemade device in action. This was the point where everything went horribly wrong. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. By the way, I used to live in Tampa, but I'm very familiar with Ybor City because Ybor is where all the nightclubs are. All kinds of crazy shit goes on. All kinds of shit goes on there. According to witnesses, Mr. Winters was attempting to reattach the air compressor when he stumbled, knocking the scuba tank off the workbench and onto the concrete floor. The tank basically exploded after Winters knocked it over, commented one of the witnesses. None of Winters' friends were injured, but the blast from the ruptured tank sent shrapnel flying directly into his lower body. That's going to leave a mark, right? Winters' friends quickly phoned for an ambulance, and he was rushed to the hospital, where surgeons spent over 8 hours treating extensive wounds. His condition has now been downgraded from critical to serious, but medical staff announced they were unable to save his testicles, which had been cleanly severed by a shard of metal. Part of me is a little envious. Anyways, preliminary investigations have identified the scuba tank was used by Winters, may be banned from dive use throughout the U.S. The tank was manufactured prior to 1992 and was a type of aluminum alloy that is known to have a high risk of fracturing. We regularly audit dive shops in Tampa to ensure that these tanks are not being sold. However, the ban only extends to using the tank when diving. If Winters purchased the tank for the purposes of inhaling cannabis, the retailer has technically not breached the law. Well, that's all very interesting. Here's kind of an interesting thing about the story. It's alternative facts. It's fake news. However, why did I include it? Why did I even start off with it? Because I used to live in Tampa, and I could see this happening in Tampa. Even, yeah, yes, this is a fake story, but it's one of those fake stories that's so believable because, like, I lived there. This may be fake news today, but tomorrow, who knows? But I did want to share it because I found it so amusing. So, let's move right along to Florida man accused of breaking into a woman's home, drinking vodka, and frying chicken. Oh, good times, good times. Bred him his rights. Gotta love that that spicy little tagline there. A Florida man was charged with burglary after he allegedly entered a residence after the homeowner left for work, only to help himself to her vodka and fry up some chicken, authorities said. Ronald Wesley was discovered manning Samantha O'Neill's stove when she and her sister came home on Wednesday night, Fox station WOFL reports. He was there, drunk as a skunk, and just being Betty Crocker. Cute. Said O'Neill's shocked sibling Melissa Stanley. The Alachua County resident responded by screaming at the 34-year-old man. Then she literally took matters into her own hands. She just wanted him off the property, so I just wanted him off the property, so I picked him up and threw him out the gate. Now that there is a strong, independent woman who don't need no man, and takes it a little too seriously. She proceeded to call for help with Alachua County Sheriff's deputies, arriving to find Wesley still walking around the area. Wesley, who is currently out of jail, faces felony charges of burglary and larceny. Of Wesley, O'Neill said he was an acquaintance, but had no permission to enter her home, though she did have one positive thing to say about the results of him pirating her poultry. My buddy had eaten it, she told WFL. He said it was well seasoned. He said it was seasoned very well. So, what's the problem? I mean, I hope she's not pressing charges against him. I mean, if he made some good chicken. And that's just kind of my take on it. And that's apparently Ron Wesley, and yeah, I'm not going to make any of the obvious jokes. Moving on. Florida man worried about zombies breaks into home, deputies say. Deltona, Florida. I have family in Deltona, and I am relieved to see this is not one of them. A man who said he was too worried about zombies to stay outside broke into a Deltona home and stole belongings, according to the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. So what did he steal? I know y'all want to know what he stole, because I sure enough do. Well, I've already read this article, so I want to tell you what he stole. Deputies say that Ray went through victims' belongings and took a pink selfie stick, a Bluetooth speaker, a wallet, a jacket, and car keys and put them in the front seat of a Kia that was parked in the garage. Because, you know, when the zombies are coming after you, that selfie stick and that Bluetooth speaker are going to come in real handy. I don't know, maybe he was going to build some MacGyver device, I don't know. But, yeah, I'm just thinking those things are probably not going to be all that helpful during the zombie apocalypse. And that can go away. There it goes. Florida man arrested for biting off a chunk of a man's ear. Because that's what happens in Florida. You know, it's just so befitting. I do a story about zombies, and then I do a story about somebody getting their ear bit off. But, you know, that's what we do in Florida. We bite each other's faces off down here. Sometimes we throw alligators at each other. Sometimes when our kids misbehave, we go after them with a hot iron. Yeah. Yeah, that stuff happens down here. But in this case, a guy got his ear bit off over a case of beer. David Peters of Plantation got into an argument on April 1st with another man after Peters dropped a case of beer, and witnesses told police the two began to fight. Peters was in a headlock before he turned the tables and allegedly bit a part of the man's ear off. Yeah, just went full Mike Tyson on him. Good for him. And apparently the guy who got bit lost as much as 40% of the top of his right ear. and it could not be reattached. Well, you know what, though? He'll have this permanent scar that'll just make him look like a tough guy. So, next we have Florida man snorts cocaine in front of cops as wildfire rages. By the way, true story down here in Florida, around Central Florida area, we have had some serious wildfires going on down here. Not near where I live, thankfully, but yeah, there has been some wildfires going on down here. It's some pretty bad stuff going on. As massive wildfire raged nearby and deputies worked to evacuate residents, Joshua Benz picked a most Florida man way to snort cocaine by doing so right in front of a patrol car, police said. Benz, 25, a Naples resident, motioned for a deputy to stop his unmarked patrol car Friday night, according to the Naples Daily News. When the car stopped, Benz took a long snort of a clear bag that had contained cocaine, police said. At that point, police said Benz turned around with his hands behind his back. So it sounds to me like this guy wanted to be arrested. Who knows what reason? But you snort cocaine in front of a cop, then you just turn around and put your hands behind your back without them telling you to? I'm thinking he wanted to be arrested. How totally Florida, man. But not to be outdone, and because I strongly believe in equality, we have a Florida woman. I'm still going to try and find at least one story that involves a Florida tranny. Hopefully I won't be in that story. But this story, I will say this before I get started, it hits a little too close to home for me, not just because of where it happened in Clearwater is very close to where I live, but also, well, it reminds me of one of my exes. In fact, when I saw this story, I had to look at the name and know that it is not my ex-girlfriend, who was a crack whore with the convictions to prove it. Yes. I, many years ago, did date a woman who, well, like I said, was a crack whore, and after we broke up, she got arrested, and I looked up what the arrest was for, and it was for soliciting, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia, that drug paraphernalia being a crack pipe. So, when I say she was a crack whore, she actually had the convictions to prove it. Not only that, she had multiple previous offenses for drug possession, paraphernalia possession, soliciting. Yeah, what I was doing with this girl, I have no idea. But that was a long time ago, and, well, let's get back to this story. A Florida woman was facing charges after police said she gave birth to a child at home while smoking crack cocaine. Arrest records show 24-year-old Katrina Kegelman now faces a child neglect charge. The report shows she gave birth to the child on Monday, April 3rd, on a back patio and hid the baby in the backyard. You know, true story, my ex, the crack whore, actually tried to pregnancy trap me, and I told her, look, I want proof that you're pregnant, and if it is, I will see to it that you don't raise it. And I then got an email from her a couple days later saying I lost the baby. Also why this reminds me of my ex. Tried to hide the baby, lost the baby. Yeah, same thing. At least close enough. Meek says she noticed Kegelman walking near her home and led her inside to give her clean clothes and a place to shower. Records show Kegelman is a transient with no permanent address. I actually feel a little sorry for her because, she's basically homeless. And, 24 years old and homeless, that's pretty bad. Meeks knows Kegelman was in labor and offered to take her to a hospital. But by the time she went to call for help, she stepped back outside. Kegelman had already given birth. Meeks noticed the blood on her pants, the baby tucked inside. She says Kegelman pleaded with her not to call 911. She told her instead she was calling a friend and stepped away to call for an ambulance. That's when she says Kegelman hid the baby under a plant in her backyard. According to the affidavit, she later admitted to the police that she was afraid she'd be arrested for the baby's death and had smoked crack cocaine just moments before giving birth. Oh, goodness. Florida. Our crack whores are our crack whores are more fucked up than your crack whores. That's probably too strong of a word to use on this girl because who knows, but yeah, she reminds me too much of my ex. Fire rescue arrived at the home where Kegelman at first wouldn't say where the baby was, but eventually pointed towards the backyard. Officials said the baby boy survived and is now in the hospital. So that's actually a good thing to come out of this. The kid did survive. Hopefully that kid winds up in a good home. And hopefully this bitch winds up in jail. Well, records show she's bonded out of jail Thursday morning, April 6th. But, you know, I'm hoping some good comes out of this. I'm hoping that kid goes to a good home, lives a good life. That would be nice. But that's all I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this. Hopefully you liked what you saw here. If you did, let me know down in the comments below, and I will certainly keep on doing this. I actually had a little bit of fun looking these up and trying to find stories to talk about that were interesting, that and a lot of these did hit kind of home to me because, like I said, I used to live in Tampa. I live near Clearwater. This story here reminds me of one of my exes. I have family in Deltona, so I mean, a lot of these stories are just like, oh my goodness, I've been there. So, but I do want to do this some more. I do want to do this again. So if we like what I did here, please let me know down below. I'll certainly do more of these. I had fun doing this. I had fun looking these up because of all the crazy shit that happens in this state where I live. So, thanks everyone for watching. Love you all very much. Have a great day, and we'll see you some other time. Goodbye.